Origin Series wrap show. Oh, dear. 24 points to 12. That is the scoreline. We do it for BWS. Game day bevies. We're here for it at BWS. Look for the Australian-made logo. Buy local. And for Brighton Homes, Brighton Anza, get $30,000 back on your new home. So give us a call. You want to have your say. Where did it go right? Where did it go wrong? 1300 01 1170. So Anthony Seibold is still here. Justin Horo is here. Jarrod Wallace, 6 Origins for the Maroons, is still here. And Brett Kimmorley will join us shortly, the former Blue. 1300 01 1170. And lots of text messages coming in. But let's go to Jarrod Wallace first up. Jarrod, give us your thoughts on that performance for the ages for Queensland. They win 24 points to 12.
Well, good evening, gentlemen. How good was that? I am over the moon. I am still at the ballpark in Brisbane. It is still pumping. I can only imagine what Caxton Street is going on right now. But holy, I cannot even describe that win from Queensland. There's not one player on that field that you can sit there and go, you couldn't keep your head up high. Like Tommy did and was spectacular and deserved man of the match, deserved the Wally Lewis medal. But holy, like the hammer was everywhere. Cam Munster, after the week that he's had, condolence to his family, was phenomenal. And Shibasaki for his first game, holy, like, man, it was unreal. And the hype here in Queensland, it's phenomenal. And, we'll probably keep going for another week or so, I reckon. Especially now that dynasty that won in a row is now gone.
Yeah, very good point. Did you expect it, Jarrod? Did you expect a performance like this from Queensland?
Look, I expected it to be very close. I expected the emotion after the week of Cam Munster's dad passing, that they would stand up, because Queenslanders do that. They back their mates and they would stand up. And, like after winning that Perth game, we broke the hoodoo there of never winning a game. I had faith, and Billy Slater, made some fantastic changes in, bringing Big Papa Lee back into the side. He brings that presence, and it was Tino's best game, and I take that. I put that down as having Big Papa next to him. It just gives him confidence to just go out and do his job and not have to overexert himself and do things that he doesn't usually do. And then bringing in Shibasaki, who's a genuine centre. It was fantastic coaching by Billy, but it was just unreal. Like they had New South Wales baffled at times. It didn't look like the New South Wales that we've seen in the past, and it was just unreal to watch. I'm still a bit shocked, to be honest.
You're not the only one, Jarrod. I must say that to his great credit, and we've got a young coach in Billy Slater. He's coached at the professional level now 12 games. Like, he's coached 12 games at the professional level. Everything that he did for this game 3 was proven correct. This is just he has a legacy as a player. He's building one very quickly as a coach, Jarrod.
I know, it's unreal. And, everyone's calling for his head and saying, how can you, sack your captain in game 1? And, how can you do this? How can you do that? Like, he stood, the thing with Billy is, yes, he was a great player, but when he makes a decision, he stands by it, and the team stands by him. And yes, when he didn't bring in Cherry Evans into that game 2, Tommy did and was only a smidgen away from probably playing game 1. Obviously, Cherry's been fantastic for us in the Queensland Maroons jersey for years, and it's been such a big reason why we've been so successful over the years. But the call needed to be made, and we sit here now holding up the trophy, and it was the right decision. It's funny that I sit here and I watch. I'm looking at all the text calls coming in. God, you guys down there in New South Wales, you're quick to turn on each other. I can tell you that much. Holy, I was in stitches in some of these messages, mate. Laurie Daly's already got his head chopped off by half of New South Wales guys down there, and And like Cleary apparently is the worst player ever. Like, are they off their heads? Like, Jesus Christ.
Oh,
He's a quick.
We can turn and turn quickly, Jarrod. There's no doubt about that. Travis says, in Billy we trust. Yeah, there's a lot of that's been going on. Let's go to the open line. 1300 01 1170 if you want to have your say. Let's go to Mick. He's on the line over there in Margaret River, Western Australia. G'day, Mick.
Jimmy, Queenslander. How you going, Walt?
I'm very well, my man. How good is that?
How good. Now, I just want to say, how many are you going to eat tonight, Jimmy? I tell you, you guys are out of control. But that was almost a perfect game in Queensland. You got to say that. The completion rate, and they just didn't put the cue in the rack. And huge from Tino, great from Big Papa. It was great to see them. They jump behind money, and it does prove that family does come first. And I just think it was an awesome spectacle for the sport, and I think everyone should be stoked. And it's always a better day, and the sun will come up tomorrow, even just a little bit brighter. Now we've won another one over you, blue swines.
All right, good on you, Mick. Thoughts on Mick's thoughts?
Yeah, no, well, Mick's obviously a Queenslander, but look, Jarrod's been part of the Queensland side. I think there was some. Jay Wallace, some really big, state of origin players, wasn't there? I think, Hammer's tackle on Angus Crichton early in the second half. I think it was tackle 5 run shape. There was Tommy Dearden's cover tackle on Brian Tohu. Again, not too long after that. Ruben Cotter diving on some loose balls. So some really big plays there from Queensland. So they showed a ton of spirit, as Mick from WA said.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Every time there was a break or any time there was an inkling of something, Tommy Dearden turned up.
Yeah.
That late in that second half when Tommy Dearden made that cover tackle and was only a hair in it of not taking Toto out.
Yep.
It was just incredible. And I said to the boys when we were calling, he didn't even look tired. Like, he just played 80 minutes of probably the best game he's ever played in his life. And it looked like he could have gone another 80.
Yeah.
It was just incredible. And for he's still only a young kid in himself in his actual NRL career. And he just led that Origin, that Maroons side around, so easily and just so well, because he took a lot on his shoulders, and it was really good to see, because the last couple of games, Munster's done 90% of the kicking, or he's the one that's always the man too that Queensland usually looks at and looks for that kind of demanding as that dominant half. But he took charge tonight. And that's obviously from the week that he's had. And he went, you know what, I'm going to take some pressure off my mate and I'm going to take charge here. And everybody followed him. That right side was fantastic. In that first half, they just kept attacking and they just kept reaping the rewards. But it was just unbelievable.
1300 01 1170. You call, you will get on. And remember, if you've got the SEN app, we're streaming. We're going live out on the SEN app. That's vision, audio, that's everything. So let's go to the open line. Craig is there to have his say. G'day, Craig.
Yes, good evening, Jimmy. That Queensland win tonight was up there with that 1989 game at City Football Stadium when they had all those injuries. For courage and guts, I say. So they'll go down in Queensland's Day of Origin folklore, that win tonight.
They will be talking about this performance by the team and performance by their captain for decades. As long as rugby league is played between these two states, they will talk about this night.
Yeah, it was a famous victory. Like after game one, losing at Suncorp Stadium, at home, game one under some pressure there. I thought it was fantastic effort in the last two games. Like incredible effort. And I know they were using the 1995 series as a little bit of motivation internally, and Queensland Rugby League had really promoted that. And you saw the spirit of the 95 side out there tonight, represented by the 2025 team.
Yeah, Val Holmes, why not us? I think you mentioned that. And they can always find a good storyline. Here's another great storyline on screen right at the moment. Josh Papali'i. I don't know if either we're in a break or we're coming back or we had the highlights going, but Cameron Munster made it a point as skipper before he called everyone onto the stage to make sure he got Josh Papali'i up to raise the trophy with him, which was a nice moment, and it's a reflection of how important and the respect that Josh Papali'i has amongst every Queenslander.
So just to confirm what we all knew, and that was that Tom Dearden was the best player on the field tonight. He was awarded the man of the match, and just to confirm what we all believed would happen as well, and that is that Tom Dearden was adjudged the best player throughout the course of the series. He's the Wally Lewis medalist. for this State of Origin series. Let's go back to the open line. Chris is there to have his say. G'day, Chris.
Hi, guys. Look, I just think their spine, if you look at their spine compared to our spine, I think the four best players on the field were their fullback and their halves and their hooker. And that's really, I mean, I know we lost the game in lots of different areas, but their spine tonight was fantastic. Any comment on their spine compared to ours?
Yeah, they were awesome. Yeah, Seib's mentioned a number of times, I think, we were all glowing so much about Tommy Did, and Seib's a couple of times chucked in how good Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow was. And then right at the death, it wasn't until you seen Harry Grant diving on a couple of loose balls just thinking, he's just been everywhere. He's been in everything for him. And obviously just the emotion of what Cameron Munster had to deal with, but then also go out there and lead his state and lead those players who had big games around him after a huge couple of days for the skipper.
Certainly wasn't a lack of effort by the New South Wales spine players, so let's be clear about that. But you made a really interesting point in the break scope around what this game again has done for Mitchell Moses.
Yeah, like you can look at the negatives, and there are going to be plenty of people looking at them.
Oh, they're coming through already.
They're coming through now, and as J-Wall was alluding to before, we're getting them through text. But I was just thinking about it, just while we had a little bit of a couple of minutes to just think about what's just happened. And, geez, the Origin career of Mitch Moses in the last couple of years is just looking better and better with the results since not being able to play in both game 2 and 3 after getting the job done in Queensland last year in the decider.
Well, I know a half who did get the job done at State of Origin level. Brett Kimmorley joining us from out there at Accor Stadium. Noddy, you've had a chance to digest. You've spoken to a number of the key players there. What's your take on the 80 minutes that we've just witnessed and this performance by Queensland to lose at home and then come and win the series?
Yeah, well, Jimmy, it was extremely difficult to be on a Blues bias call tonight. There's not a lot of fun happening, and obviously a lot of clinical performance from Queensland. Queensland were outstanding. You know, it was such a performance. Obviously, we thought they'd be connected. We thought there'd be a fair bit of passion in the camp, but to be so clinical for about 60 to 65 minutes, they end up with 92% completion rate. They end up 5 line breaks each, but you're right, the key players for Queensland were the stars. There was 3 moments in the first half. I think Dearden's try was, a bit off the cuff, not really structured. Hamiso obviously picked up the ball, found 2 metres of space, and it gets back there. Xavier Coates try and even Harry Grant's try. Like, Harry Grant was one of those players that we spoke about potentially in Game 1 that gave away some penalties and will never play that bad again.
Yeah.
And in Game 3, he's one of the best players on the field. So that's his own performance and his own pride. But I thought, Jimmy, we tried hard New South Wales. Queensland closed every avenue we went down. Every time we tried to go in a different direction, they shut us down. They look faster. They look more clinical. It's probably the most clinical performance from a team at this level in Origin that I've seen probably in the last 5 or 10 years. So I thought it was just a masterclass performance, summed up by key players, summed up by the emotion of their captain and what he'd been through the last sort of 7 days, the sacking of the captain after Origin 1 and the connection and the heartache that would have went through, and Hamiso, even the decisions that Billy Slater has had to make. And when I interviewed Valentine Holmes post-game, he just saw the coach, when I mentioned the coach coming over, the emotion he showed about what the coach means to him, how much he knows him, and how well connected Billy Slater must be to his team for them to play for the state. And obviously he's a Queensland legend as a player, and now I think this would make him a Queensland legend as a coach, wouldn't it? Yeah,
well, we talked about that. He's coached 12 games as a professional. He's won 3 State of Origin series. Jarrod Wallace, you wouldn't be this gracious as a loser, would you?
Oh, no, absolutely. I would. I've been on both ends of the stick, actually. I remember winning 17 my first year, and it was fantastic, and then lost 2 in a row. It's not the best thing, but mate, the feeling that the boys would have right now, like, honestly, it's something you can't describe. And I remember Seibs, was there with me actually in 17 when we won that series.
Well, it was a great series for us.
It was, and we went down. We lost the first game, and I remember we were getting absolutely ridiculed too. Like Nate Miles, get rid of all the older players, and we came back and won 2 and 3, and they just showed so much heart tonight, boys. Like the boys really, after it was probably one of the most embarrassing losses that Game 1. We got bashed. We got really played out of sorts, which Queenslanders just don't do, and to fight back the way they did in 2 and 3, like I'm super stoked for them.
Winners have parties. Sounds like you're having a party up there, Jarrod Wallace. We'll let you go and join that. Remember, we'll be having plenty of meetings down here in New South Wales, all right?
Call me in 15. I'll be at the Caxton Street. And I'll let you know how to go.
Enjoy it, Jay Wall.
I will, man. See you, boys.
Jarrod Wallace there, 6 origins for Queensland. Clearly very happy with the performance and understandably so. Call and you get on. 1300 01 1170. Remember, we are streaming live on the SEN app. Just be aware of that if you want to pick the fluff off your socks in the middle of the program. All right, let's get ourselves to a break. When we come back, your calls, 1300 01 1170. Welcome back. This is Origin Live for BWS. Game day bevies. We're here for it at BWS. We're doing it for Australian Made. Look for the Australian Made logo. Buy local. And Brighton Homes. Build better with Brighton. Brett Kimmorley's taken it as his chance to leave as well. So Noddy's taken off. He's taken his bat and ball and gone home. He's not so happy. Don't worry. If you want to be a part of the program, you can. 1300 01 1170. New South Wales don't get Origin. Rack off, Lance. We're not ready for that. But this is a good text message from Ruffred at Concord. I'll go to you on this one, Seibs. Why were we ambushed so badly by the rush defence? They were always going to do it in crucial games. It was predictable. Did we not have a plan to counter that rush defence? Having said that, Queensland, way too good. Cheers, Ruffred at Concord.
Yeah, well, it's something that we spoke about during the call. I think one of the things that you need to do as a coach is, provide some tactical solutions. And so some of the things they could have done against that rush defence was be a little bit deeper out the back of shape. You saw the 2 centres and the 2 wingers for Queensland were jamming really hard. So you want to give yourself a little bit of extra depth there. You want to play some spike lines from back rowers. So
yep.
Angus Crichton nearly scored off a spike line, early in the second half there. The other one is play some tunnels to the centre. So you go in between the back rower and the fullback and you go straight to the centre.
They did do that.
Which they did once.
Yes.
They did once. But, that's what you need to go to. The other option is to kick in behind the line. Aggressive wingers and centres jamming. Hammer was staying in the line. He was plunging in the line there. So there's plenty of space in behind there. So there are a couple of things they could have done against that rush defence or that really aggressive edge defence that we saw from Queensland tonight.
Give us a call. You'll get on 1300 01 1170. Canara Cowboy has been very patient up there in Townsville. What do you got for us, Cowboy?
Just a quick one. Kimmorley's gone now, so I like Seibs because he's very analytical with the game and all that. If you put a black headgear on Tom Dearden, does he remind you of someone else that played for North Queensland, for Queensland and Australia? Like that performance tonight, wasn't that just Jonathan Thurston?
Oh yeah, the effort. Yeah, the effort. Yeah, definitely. No, he was great. Like all the effort parts of the game, he was outstanding. I think a couple of the cover defending tackles that he made, or the scramble defence that he. Tackles that he made were outstanding. Competed really hard, went really deep into the line like a JT used to. Was just on the other side of the field, like he plays left-hand side as a half for his club side, the Cowboys, and he played on the right tonight. So, and the last 2 games for Queensland. So he had a hell of a game, and you're right. JT would have been really proud, being one of the assistant coaches, to have Tom play a game like that.
Was he the most talented half on that field tonight?
No, he's not the most talented.
No, he's not.
No,
he's not. He's got limitations around what he can do, but there's all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I look at him now and I think, and maybe Isaiah Katoa is a little bit different and he feels like he's coming through on that, but Tommy's a bit more advanced in his career. He's a guy that he's in America, you'd call him a franchise player.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why it's great to see Tom have so much success, personal success, since he's gone to the Cowboys. He's become a leader there. Him and Ruben Cotter, the 2 Cowboys co-captains. It almost reminds you of the days, I was talking to JT when JT and Matt Scott were the 2 co-captains of Queensland. You had one real worker, hard man in Matt Scott, that's Ruben Cotter, and then obviously Tommy Dearden, really full of effort, like a JT used to play, digging into the line, tough defensively. So I thought those 2 guys from the Cowboys are great.
They're still finding themselves as leaders and captains up there too, aren't they? Like it's taken a while to get it going. It's a huge decision from Todd Payten because they were out-and-out Origin players. Even though Tommy Dearden wasn't playing consistently, he required either an injury to Cam Munster or the drop-in of Ches to get the opportunity to play halfback. You could tell he was an Origin player in waiting, even at club level. So Todd Payten made a huge decision, and they've still got room to grow with the leadership, but geez, they just all the best leaders are all action. They always have been. So, and that's exactly what they've got in spades.
Juma Shibasaki may never play at this level again. His name will never be forgotten as long as Origin is
He honestly
played.
was outstanding. Both sides of the footy. His first carry, he got jammed. There was 4 defenders. They lifted him up and they bum rushed him back 10 metres. He kept going after the game. But the big thing was defensively. Look, he made some really big tackles, one-on-one tackles against probably superior athletes. You know, some of the Blues outside backs, they're freakish athletes. And he did a hell of a job. Well, what a storyline. It was outstanding.
He's on a development contract, Steve, like train and trial. Like, he's made himself a lot of money this year.
Incredible.
A lot of money.
John,
30 grand for that game, I think.
John is on the line. Speaking of 30 grand, he's from Latitude Accountants. Hey, Johnny.
Hey, how are you, Jimmy?
I'm devastated, mate.
Mate, I'm devastated too. I actually got out to the game. It was an anniversary for us. 25 years ago, Game 3, my dad took me out to my first Origin. We won by about 40, and Ryan Girdler scored after about 40 seconds.
Yeah.
And unfortunately tonight, Game 3 again, 2025, it wasn't the same result.
It's so disappointing. Where do you apportion blame, John?
Mate, look, I'm a proud Blues fan, but I've got to say we were out-coached and out-enthused. I think everything Billy Slater did is probably justified in the result. There's a lot of big decisions he made there. Obviously, the changing over of the halves there with DCE and Dearden, and then bringing in Shibasaki, bringing back Big Papa. A lot of big decisions there, and if you get the result, you get the result. So out-coached for sure, out-enthused. I felt like they were all over us. With the energy, I was there, out there tonight, and it seemed like they were ready to win it. And of course, I was thinking about my dad, going out to the game with my dad again after 20 years, and with Cam having lost his dad, it's obvious that they were playing for him, and emotionally a lot more invested, and they performed well. And I've got to say, well done to Queensland, because it was a remarkable effort. The performance was great and a fantastic win.
Yeah, outstanding. Well said. Johnny Sard there from Latitude Accountants. Remember, we often go behind the numbers, all thanks to Latitude Accountants. They just get tradies. So good on you, Johnny. I was going to say I'm glad you enjoyed the game, but clearly you didn't. Dan's on the line. G'day, Dan.
Evening, gentlemen. How are we?
Righto, next question.
Yeah, I'm about the same. I guess I'm just trying to think it, rather than sit there and point the blame and point the finger, because you can pull up a million different reasons why and why not and blah, 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 and at the moment. One thing I do have, with the younger players, and nothing against Loz personally, we said we were out-coached. You talk about, like, do these players know Laurie Daly and what he does and what he didn't do? If I look at Queensland, these guys grew up watching Billy Slater and doing Billy Slater and pretending to be Billy Slater in the backyard, as well as playing with him and all that sort of stuff. Loz is just another generation back, and he's probably just another, unfortunately to these younger generations, he's just another generation back, and he's the bloke on the videos who played well back then. So he doesn't quite have the same carry with the younger generation. So finding that player in that Billy Slater age bracket might be a bit more beneficial to the team.
All right,
help get them up,
Dan?
because when he says something, they listen. Yeah.
All right, Dan. Thoughts, Scope?
Yeah, I've mentioned this a couple of times before, like going back to the decisions in and around Loz and this campaign and Madge before that. So not only were they so dominant on the field during that span of that 8 years, but what it did create is it's created these legends for these current players that grew up and went to high school and idolised these players that are now currently in their staff. So they've been able to pull off these unbelievable wins and backs against the wall wins where, unfortunately for New South Wales, there was really no player during that period that had the success of Billy Slater, Cameron Smith, Jonathan Thurston, even guys like Nate Miles in camp, right? He's been in camp with Billy for the last 3-4 years as their footy manager. So the dynasty lives on is basically my point.
Not sure I believe what Dan was saying, because Michael Maguire never played Origin and he won a series last year. Phil Gould's New South Wales' greatest ever Origin coach. He never played Origin. He never played for New South Wales.
I think the point, though, is less about, like, yeah, you can win in another way, but geez, it seems to have been beneficial for the buy-in and the relatability for Billy Slater in the last 3 or 4 years with this team, that was, I would argue, underdogs in every series. So, whether you get a coach that can come in and get a job done and it's a genuine 50-50, they would have been underdogs in almost every series, wouldn't they, Queensland?
Oh, they always are. It's just because there's more New South Welshmen.
I think what you're saying, though, if you look back to Melbourne Egg when he took over Queensland in 2006, probably a similar thing.
Yep.
A lot of those guys had caught Mel at the end of his career and, knew what he had done. So, you don't have to be a good player to be a good coach, but I think there's been a couple of times there with Mel and certainly with Billy from a Queensland perspective. There's something to lean into there, yeah.
Let's go back to the open line. Darren is there in Ballina, wants to have his say. G'day, Darren.
Yeah, g'day, guys. I just wanted to get your opinion because you guys were gun players yourselves. Is it fair to say, I think Cleary goes missing in these big games. I know he's won grand finals, but I bleed blue and gold, right? And if Mitch Moses was not injured, I think Mitch Moses gives more spark at halfback in the Origins than Cleary does. And the other point I wanted to say was I thought Horo, for a person that no one knew about 3 years ago, I thought he had a really strong game as lock forward. What did you guys think?
Yeah,
good shout on Horo.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a Sunshine Coast junior and he's come through that Melbourne Storm system. And I think he's actually quite skillful, but tonight he ran first and thought about passing second, and that's what I liked about his game tonight. And the other one, he's always a very good defender. I feel like he's a really tough defender in the middle part of the field. So I agree with you there.
Okay. Nathan Cleary goes missing at State of Origin level. Discuss.
Well, I feel like Mitchell Moses and Nathan Cleary probably are the best combo for the Blues. I think that's probably been seen a couple of times. I feel, Nathan Cleary he's going to be disappointed in his performance tonight, but they were sort of beaten up in some other areas of the field, not just the halfbacks. I felt as though the line speed disrupted the whole attack of the Blues tonight. They didn't get momentum through the middle third of the field through their forward pack. I don't think they got momentum through the backfield with their back five. So it's really hard for a halfback to play off the back of that tonight.
All those areas we were talking about pre-game going, New South Wales been dominant here up front and New South Wales dominant in the back three.
Yeah, and they didn't get it.
I'm a huge Nathan Cleary fan, huge. And every time I sort of get a little bit carried away about, what he's been doing and what he's been able to do at club level, there's always people that, sort of get in, they want to reply, and whether it's here on radio or it's, in the comments and get into it. It's about not getting the job done at Origin. And he still has yet to get it done.
Don't worry. Joey got it done big time, game 22, game 23 at Origin level. So there is still time for Nathan Cleary. Pete's on the line in Newcastle. G'day, Peter.
G'day, guys. Bit shattered after tonight. Yep. But that's the way Origin football goes. But 2 points. The first point, I think Slater had the media. He knew how to control the media after game one. I think he learned from Maguire last year how to control it with the glass houses comment. I think he controlled it after that comment. Unfortunately for Aaron Woods, I reckon it turned the whole series around. And I think him coming out and making those statements put basically the whole of Queensland on him. And that basically put, the underdog tag on him and they lifted for him. Second point, I love Laurie, but I don't know if he's got the mongrel to be a coach. Like, he's just too nice of a nice guy. Like, he just doesn't have that, toughness as a player he did. But as a coach, I just don't know if he's got that ability to get the most out of his players. I mean, they've seen what he does, and he's a legend at Origin. But there's coaching, and then there's coaching. I just don't know whether he can do that going long term for New South Wales.
Yeah, good on you, Pete. Thank you for that. I thought Billy Slater lost complete control after the emotion charge press conference the day before State of Origin number 2. I thought, I think he then had to completely reassess his strategy moving forward. And then from the moment he fronted the press the next day, he has not put a foot wrong. Thoughts, Soobs?
Yeah, well, again, I only saw glimpses of that press conference.
Yep.
I did see his, conversation with the media the next day. But you've got to say that tactically in the last 2 games, Queensland were superior to the Blues team. I felt as though, they had a great game plan in the wet in Perth, and they had a great game plan tonight. And I thought tonight was going to be the biggest test for them because I thought it's been dry conditions. The weather's great for footy out there tonight. A little bit slippery, but I just felt as though they were on top from really early in the game.
I don't think he's handled sort of, the criticism as much the last couple of years, Billy. But tactically, like going down in a nail-biter and a decider last year, getting the job done in Game 2 and them still making huge decisions and changes and making a change from a winning team.
Yeah.
Right? Like everyone talks about Josh Papali'i, but he dropped Mo Fotuaika, who got the job done for him in Game 2. So tactically, he's made some really good decisions. He probably hasn't handled the media stuff as well in the, probably more so last year and then a little bit into Game 2. But I tell you who has handled it well, his players. They've rallied for him. They've probably handled it a lot better, and they've gone out and got the job done for him. So, again, that just goes back to, I think, the love and support and the familiarity that he's got with some of the, the players. And then, like even Cam Munster, his skipper, like they played together. Not only, for Queensland, but at club level for 3 or 4 years as well. So,
New South Wales just looked overconfident, thought it was just going to happen for them. Queensland got them again, says Rooster in Brisbane. Cleary isn't a half who can or regularly turns a game when his team is inferior or under the pump. Johns was one. Tommy too. Who else, though? It's the most rare quality in the game, says Spanky. And then Travis, love hearing New South Wales excuses. Plenty more tomorrow. Don't worry. There's someone who was excited that 7.5 hours till Brandy and Vossi. I'm counting down. Queenslander! That's right. All the programming tomorrow on SEM. We'll cover it across. They've done it again, Seibs. I cannot believe it. Well done. Well done, Queensland.
Good luck, Queensland.
Good luck, Manly, for the remainder of 2025.
Thanks, Cope.
Thanks, Seibs. Good luck to Woodsy tomorrow as well.
Yeah, that's right. Thought we had problems. We might send people there. Go and listen to music at midday tomorrow, Queenslanders. Congratulations, though. You're Origin champions in 2025.